Welcome to Xtreme Manufacturing, Ahern Reynolds. We have Don Ahern who will come up here in a minute to introduce the speaker. We're glad everybody's here for the next President of the United States of America, Newt Gingrich!
And so I am very committed to creating jobs. We're walking around looking at what you do here at Xtreme Manufacturing. We're talking about what would the impact be if we had a 12.5% corporate tax rate so we could compete in the world market, so we could have more money here at home. We were talking about what would the effect be of 100% expensing on all new equipment so your customers could write it off in 1 year, and if you bought new equipment for manufacturing, you could write it off in 1 year, so we'd have the best manufacturing equipment in the entire planet to compete with China and India successfully. And as he just said, and that equipment would be made in America because we would have rebuilt manufacturing. I remind people who worry about national security, you cannot be the arsenal of democracy if you don't have an arsenal. So you really need to put together a program that rebuilds manufacturing in America. One of your major markets is petroleum and natural gas. I am very deeply committed to an American energy program. I believe that no American president should ever again bow to a Saudi king. And the way you make sure that never happens again is you create so much American oil and gas production that you don't have to worry about Saudi Arabia, you don't have to worry about Venezuela, you keep the jobs here at home, and frankly, you then become the major supplier to the folks who are doing the work. The same thing's true of the Keystone Pipeline. The Keystone Pipeline means jobs right here in Las Vegas. And I want you to know that on the first day I'm sworn in, one of the first executive orders I will sign will open up America for the Keystone Pipeline to be built as of that day. Yes. That will literally create jobs right here with you supplying the contractors going to build the pipeline. Now that's that practical. And it is amazing how impractical the current president is. I tell everybody that you can tell how, you want to know how rapidly we'll turn around. By the way, the newest report yesterday was the economy will stay stagnant and unemployment may even go up this fall. And I have a simple message. If you want to know how rapidly the turnaround can occur, late on election night when Barack Obama is defeated, we will see a turnaround. So there are some very big differences, both between me and Governor Romney and between me and Barack Obama. I really believe that we should care about the very poor, unlike Governor Romney. But I believe we should care differently than Barack Obama. Both Governor Romney and Barack Obama seem to believe that a, quote, safety net is all the poor need. I don't believe that. What the poor need is a trampoline so they can spring up and quit being poor. So I'm for replacing the safety net with a trampoline. Now, how do you do that? Part of it is you tie unemployment compensation to a training program so that everybody who signs up for unemployment goes to a business to learn how to do a job. So while we have new equipment under our 100% expensing, we have workers who are trained for the new equipment, and therefore they start getting better and better jobs. There you go. Exactly. That is exactly what we did in the 1990s when I was Speaker. Welfare reform led 2 out of 3 people to go to work or to get a job, and the result was the opposite of what liberals said. Children in poverty declined as families worked and incomes went up, and people got to be better and better off. In fact, if you look at the period, both under Governor Reagan, President Reagan, where we cut taxes, cut regulations, and created 16 million new jobs, and when I was Speaker working with Bill Clinton, where we cut taxes, cut regulations, reformed welfare, we created 11 million new jobs. Nothing is better for somebody who's poor than getting a job and getting a paycheck and having a chance to rise and having their children see that it's okay to go to work and that it's a part of being an American. So unlike Governor Romney, I really care about making sure that, in fact, every person has the right to pursue happiness. They don't have the right to be given happiness by the government, which is impossible, despite Barack Obama. You know, Obama believes he is so smart he could come here and take from the overly happy to redistribute to the underly happy. That is nonsense. And one of the major themes this fall is going to be a campaign between a paycheck and job candidate, Newt Gingrich, and a food stamp and unemployment candidate, Barack Obama. And we're going to reach out to every American of every background who wants their children to have a paycheck and a job. And so we're going to run an American campaign that appeals to everybody in every state. We're not going to give up a single neighborhood. We're not going to give up a single state, because I believe if you go around the country and just tell the truth and you realize that literally under President Obama, more Americans are trapped on food stamps, not because they want to be, but because the president's economic policies are failing so badly. Now, let me go back and say the one other place where that's come up in the last 24 hours where I really profoundly disagree with Governor Romney is the idea of an automatic indexed minimum wage. If you go back to the Carter years, if we had done that in the Carter years, we would currently have massive unemployment in the European tradition, and we would be totally unable to compete in the world market. The fact is, today, we have 25% teenage unemployment, and we have 43% teenage unemployment in the African American community. This is totally unacceptable. Young people who don't learn the work habits, who don't learn that they can get ahead, who don't learn to budget the money that they earn, are literally trapped out of the American dream. And we have an obligation to every American to say, we believe you have an opportunity, whether it's El Sueño Americano or it is the American dream, whether it is an Asian American community, a Native American community, an African American community, a Latino community, any community of any background. We want every American to have their creator-endowed rights, among which are the right to pursue happiness. Yes. Now, let me go back just for a second to energy. There's a really practical reason to unleash American energy capabilities. The price of gasoline today is the highest it's been. This president has doubled the price of gasoline since he became president. Now, if you're a New York Times editorial writer and you ride a New York subway from your condominium to a high-rise office building in downtown New York, you think that's just terrific. Because why should all those ignorant people out in America driving pickup trucks be allowed to buy cheap gasoline when they could ride the subway like you? But if you're the rest of the country and you have to drive any distance at all, you understand that really expensive gasoline, not only does it cost you more, but it costs more for everything delivered to your local grocery store, because they all come by truck, and the trucks are using gas and diesel. And so every time you turn around, when you have higher gasoline prices and higher diesel prices, you have a higher cost of living for Americans. So this president has managed to simultaneously increase unemployment while increasing the pain of cost of living. So you now have a situation where you can't get a job and you can't afford to take your car out to go try to look for a job. I mean, this is all just unimaginably dumb. Well, I don't know if he's doing it on purpose. I waver between he really is a Saul Alinsky radical and he thinks it's good to break down, and he's just incompetent. I'm not sure which is a more appropriate, I mean, look, I know a lot of you are partisan Republicans, but I think we should be open-minded. Is it a matter of being ideologically out of touch or just incompetent? I think that would be a good question to put in a poll and allow the American people to vote. Which do you think explains the current mess better? It is a perfect storm, and maybe he's both. He's ideologically out of touch and incompetent simultaneously. I mean, I don't know. This is frankly why I look forward to debating him this fall. I mean, it'd be so much fun. But, and I want to tell you up front, I will concede that he can use a teleprompter. After all, if you were going to defend Obamacare, wouldn't you want a teleprompter? So let me talk briefly, or Romneycare, that's true. Or as I guess Governor Plenty called it, Obamacare. That wasn't my line, that was Governor Plenty. Go talk to him about that inappropriate use of language. So let me talk briefly, because people do say, so how fast could you turn things around? And having worked with President Reagan in 1980 and 81 and watched how fast he did things, I put together the first Capitol Steps event in history where Governor Reagan came and was with all of the folks who were running for office. And as a result, we picked up 6 U.S. Senate seats by a combined margin of 75,000 votes. We won control of the Senate when nobody thought we could, and we ended up with 33 extra seats in the House. In 1994, we brought 350 candidates together. We all stood here, and we all looked out, and we promised. You were there, all right. I thought you looked very familiar. I'm thinking, I know you from somewhere. So here we are, 18 years later. The fact is, because we were positive and we had big ideas and people were tired of politics as usual, we ended up gaining more votes in an off year than any party in history, 9 million additional votes over 1990, lost 1 million votes. The Democrats lost 1 million votes. That swing of 10 million led to the first Republican House in 40 years. Now, with your help, I'll do it again. But I'm going to make you 2 commitments for the opening day. One commitment is conditional on your help. The other is unconditional because I could do it by myself as president. The first thing is the conditional part. I need your help to make sure we keep the Senate seat here. I need your help to make sure we do well in the House. But if we gain a working majority in the Senate, which is more than 51 seats, and if we have control of the House, I will ask them, and we will campaign this fall, on staying in session from January the 3rd when they're sworn in until I'm sworn in on the 20th. And I will ask them to do 3 things in that 17 days. First, repeal Obamacare entirely. Second, repeal the Dodd-Frank bill, which is killing small business. It is killing small banks. There's an estimate out 2 days ago that 1,000 small banks will go broke in the next 2 years because of Dodd-Frank. And it's driving down the price of housing, the exact opposite of what we need to have done. So when people say to me, what do you want to say to people in Nevada about housing? My first thing is repeal the Dodd-Frank bill, and overnight it'll be easier to get a housing loan. The federal regulators will be out of the local bank's hair, and you will see a dramatic improvement in a matter of a very short time. The third thing I'm going to ask them to do is repeal Sarbanes-Oxley, which is a bill that adds red tape, adds cost, and has no usefulness. Now, with your help, we can do those 3 things. And with your help, that means that I will be able, as soon as I'm sworn in, to sign 3 bills, repealing all 3 as part of the very first day of the presidency. Now that would be real change very fast. That's the conditional part, because that only works if you help us retain the House and gain the Senate. Now here's the unconditional part. As president, I would immediately have the ability to sign a series of executive orders. We will have all of these executive orders drafted and posted by October 1st. So in the last month of the campaign, everybody will understand, if you elect me, this is what's going to happen. And my goal would be to literally, about 2 hours after the inaugural address, stop and start signing executive orders. Before we got to the fancy balls that night, we'd have done some real work. The first executive order will abolish all of the White House czars as of that moment. there will be an executive order which will immediately allow for implementation that day of the XL pipeline. Had to cut off my song. It's ABBA. That was Dancing Queen. I didn't have to answer. If it's Super Troopers, my wife, I have to answer. I should have turned the phone off. I will now avoid embarrassment further embarrassment by turning the phone off. And I'm not going to tell you what my ringtone is when I call her because it's too embarrassing. But she was wandering around getting ringtones the other day and trying out a variety of indicators. So I think we can say to the Canadians, you do not have to cut a deal with the Chinese to build a pipeline across the Rockies to Vancouver. On January 20th, you'll be able to build the pipeline to Houston, and that's our commitment to our next door neighbor. We will also that day sign an executive order which will instruct the State Department to open the U.S. Embassy in Jerusalem as of that day to support Israel's right to exist. And as one last example, as many of you know, the Obama administration about a week ago basically started waging war against the Catholic Church and as part of Obamacare, issuing instructions that are a violation of the right of religious liberty. I will sign an executive order on the first day that repeals every anti-religious act of the Obama administration in one order. My goal, you can go to newt.org if you want to. You can offer your ideas for executive orders. The goal would be, by the time President Obama can land in Chicago, we would have repealed about 40% of his government. So when people ask you how fast can the change be, if you hire somebody who knows what they're doing, if they actually have been there and done it, if they've spent years thinking about it, you'd be amazed how rapidly you can start turning things around. Again, I learned this by working with Ronald Reagan and by studying Margaret Thatcher, because both of them in the 1980s represented profound, fundamental change. And so I believe it is possible. Let me talk about one last big thing, and I do want to have a chance to get to meet each of you and chat for a minute, because I think I'm really grateful you're here, and I really want you to make sure that all your friends and neighbors go to the caucus on Saturday, and I really think it's very important that we get the maximum number of people to turn up. But I want to just express how deeply I feel about this election and why I'm running. This is an amazing country. I believe this is the most important election of our lifetime. I think if we were to re-elect Barack Obama with his radicalism, with this level of unemployment, this level of deficit spending, these kind of policies, it's almost unimaginable how radical he would be the next time around. But I also believe that this is about more than Barack Obama. This is about bureaucracies, judges, laws, an entire system that's on the wrong track. And it's about how do you change the entire system. And so when Callista and I discussed running, we knew that there'd be some tough news media articles. We knew that our opponents would attack us, although candidly we underestimated just how dishonest some of the ads would be. But we knew it would be tough. I mean, you're running for president. I represent genuinely deep change. One of the reasons you see both sides of the Washington establishment attack me is that I really intend to change them. I mean, they're right. Let me be clear. Let me be up front. When you watch the old guard say, oh my gosh, Newt Gingrich is really, he does all these things, they're right. Yeah, I mean, look. If you want somebody who will comfortably manage the decay so that the big boys get to still make money while the country decays, then don't vote for me. It's not complicated. I twice in my lifetime participated in very dramatic change. First with Reagan, and then with Clinton, and we carried a liberal Democratic president to sign welfare reform, the first tax cut in 16 years, an increase in intelligence spending, and the Balanced Budget Act of 1997, which led to 4 consecutive balanced budgets, and that was with a liberal Democrat. Now, with your help as president, I frankly get kind of excited thinking about what we could do. And I want to be very direct and very candid. There's a reason that Goldman Sachs, having gotten billions from the taxpayers, doesn't want Newt Gingrich in Washington. Because I want to cut off the gravy train, and I want to protect the hardworking American taxpayer, not the folks who are so big they can manipulate the system. It's a very fundamental question about American life. I care a lot about businesses like this. This is a real manufacturing business. This isn't just financial manipulation. This is people who are making something that's real, putting us back in the game of competing in the world market. That's why it's so important. But I also want to stand up for the American Declaration of Independence and the nature of America. We have been under assault from anti-religious bigots for a half-century.
Yes, we have!
They have worked methodically at trying to drive God out of public life and Christianity out of our culture. And nobody in public life has been willing to stand up and say, you know, it's just a fundamental violation of American civilization. Our founding document says we are endowed by our Creator with certain unalienable rights. Now, I am prepared to fight over that. Barack Obama may believe in Saul Alinsky. I believe in the Declaration of Independence. That's how big the gap is. So let me just ask all of you, if you want us, for our children and grandchildren's sake, to get this country back on the right track, back to being the America that we grew up in, I need your help today. I need your help getting people to turn out on Saturday. And frankly, if you know anybody across the country, we're very thrilled. We've now passed about 160,000 donors. The average donor at newt.org is less than $250. And all across the country, we're seeing a popular movement spring up of people who want America to get back to the Declaration of Independence, back to the Constitution, back to the Federalist Papers, back to genuine free enterprise, not crony capitalism. So, we need your help. I will look forward to meeting each of you. Thank you, good luck, and God bless you.